I've got a few news articles here that I thought were interesting. So it came out a while ago, 7 months after Microsoft had a serious cloud email breach, where some tokens that let an attacker into some email accounts were exposed. Microsoft pointed out that most of their customers would not have access to logs sufficient to detect that attack, and they said that they would give free enhanced logging to at least, I think, government attackers. So they're making the expanded logging available free to all U.S. federal civilian executive branch agencies. And this is a big thing about cloud security. I've taken some workshops in Amazon Cloud Security, and all of Amazon Cloud Security, or most of it, consists of paying Amazon for additional security services. And it looks like Microsoft is kind of the same. So this is a thing to be aware of. I know if you make a Microsoft Azure server and you connect it with RDP to the internet, it will keep popping up saying your RDP is at risk. You should pay for a Bastion server to protect your RDP port, which would of course be more secure. And so anyway, that's an issue when you use cloud services. You may have to budget for and plan to pay for the additional security services to protect it. I'm just going to check for comments. Okay, there are none. All right, so this is an old school attack. I've heard about this many times, although not for 3D printers. Somebody found a vulnerability in this brand of printers, and they sent a message to all the printers. This has happened many times in the past when people find vulnerabilities. Now there's a message on it that says, with the file name hacked machine readme, and it says they have a critical vulnerability, and they contacted the attacker, and they claim that they sent this message to 2.9 million, which is apparently all of them. The company claims they have 3 million sales. So there are not details of the attack or whether AnyCubic has been informed or whether they're going to patch it. There are some hackers who do this just out of naughtiness, and it's also quite common that hackers tell the company and the company doesn't pay attention, and then sometimes they do an extreme thing like this. Of course, this person has now committed like 2.9 million crimes. So it's not safe to do this, it's not legal to do this, but it does happen now and then. So there was a claim that came out a few weeks ago in testimony before Congress that China had hacked a bunch of the critical infrastructure in America, like power stations and water plants, and they had been in there for 5 years. And that was a claim presented, I think, without much supporting evidence, but now somebody has leaked Chinese internal documents, 570 of them, and that apparently backs this up. And people say these documents do look genuine, the experts, and these documents report that they have been hacking multiple countries for exactly this reason, for supporting global and domestic espionage operations out of China. So it does increase the likelihood to believe in this statement, and from viewpoint of our profession, it means there are going to be jobs of us securing these power plants. It also probably will lead to even more hostility between the United States and China, which I'm sorry to see. But anyway, it's important to know the truth about who's attacking you and what they're doing, so you can better prepare for it. All right, just checking for comments. All right, so this I thought was pretty interesting. There are companies that make make espionageware, stuff that spies on you. One of the most famous ones is one that infects cell phones, that infected Jeff Bezos and other people. And Israeli companies often make these things, but then they sell it to really nasty nations until they get banned. And so this was a Canadian company, Sandvine, which apparently made internet mass surveillance technology and sold it to Egypt. Now, I thought we were on pretty good terms with Egypt, but apparently Egypt is considered an oppressive regime, and the U.S. government considers it to be very bad to sell this traffic to Egypt. I'm surprised. I know one of my students worked in Bahrain to install equipment like this, and that was under contract with the U.S. military, I think. So anyway, the geopolitics and the military politics are complicated, but apparently they're very upset that providing the ability to censor internet traffic and monitor it in Egypt. So this company has now been added to the entity list. And the entity list is companies that are prohibited from selling, nobody can do business with them in America without a special license. So there's the 5th group added to this. It's got, the other members are Candrew, NSO Group, Intellexa, and Cytrox. And NSO Group is the Israeli company that made the software that hacks cell phones. And so that's the thing. If you're going to make this nasty stuff, which is essentially military weapons, you have to be careful who you give it to, or you will make enemies and get banned, and it'll harm your business. All right, well, let me check and see if my sound looks all right. It looks like it's okay. All right, good. So, Google is paying newspapers to publish some AI-generated articles. And they say they're not trying to kill journalism, but they're paying 5-figure sums to small publishers asking them to test out a generative AI platform. So they're asked to publish 3 of these articles a day in exchange for sending analytics and feedback back to Google. And so they're trying to find out how good their AI tools are at creating readable articles. People that have deployed this in news agencies so far have created really bad articles full of mistakes, boring, irritating. So it's important to do a better job if you're going to generate articles from AI. Here they point out Google and the rest of the internet is getting filled with AI-generated slop. I saw this a while ago. Apparently 57% of the web is already AI-generated garbage. So that is a problem in many ways. It means that all of us, when you search for things, you find a bunch of AI-generated junky articles. But even more seriously, it means that if you try to train an AI on the web, you're training an AI on AI-generated stuff. So you're not learning how to speak proper English. You're learning how to speak lousy English generated by previous generations of AI. So it's a problem. And so it emphasizes the need to make AI detectors so one can detect this. This basically is spam. And just like we have spam filters in email, you'll need to have an AI filter to filter the AI-generated stuff off the internet, at least when it's so bad. So there's in old-fashioned public key cryptography, we use the RSA algorithm, where you use the product of 2 prime numbers as the key. Every cryptographic system must have a difficult problem, so that the breaking into the encrypted stuff without the key involves solving the difficult problem, and that's why it's secure. In RSA, it was factoring a number. Factoring a number that is the product of 2 primes into the component primes is a famously difficult problem, and that lies at the heart of RSA, which is what has been the standard on the internet for a long time. The problem is quantum computers, if they improve, will reach the point where they can solve that problem efficiently. So there's post-quantum encryption, which uses a different problem called lattice cryptography. And in lattice cryptography, I think they have a picture of it here. Yeah, there we go. So in lattice cryptography, you have a grid full of points here, if you do the 2-dimensional version. And so you can have these red vectors generated, where you add this vector to that vector and you can get to connect the points. And by adding multiples of these 2 vectors together, you can generate this lattice of points. And there are an infinite number of vectors that can generate the lattice. But some of them are the shorter vectors and more orthogonal. And the calculations involved are much more efficient if you can find these. So in post-quantum cryptography, the systems that have currently been approved, crystals Kyber and crystals dilithium, they're the current NIST recommended algorithms for post-quantum cryptography. They involve this lattice calculation, and the hard problem is this called lattice reduction. To move from a couple of vectors into space to find the shortest vectors that can generate the space. And that turns out to be a very hard problem. And these people have found a way to make it faster by carefully deciding how precise calculations need to be at various stages to make them faster by using less precise calculations where you can get away with it. So this is an important theoretical mathematical calculation to help determine how strong this cryptography is. And since we're all going to have to switch to this cryptography within the next 5 or 10 years, it's really important for the mathematical theory to catch up so we can have clear statements about how strong it is and how long you have to make the key and things like that. All right. They got added to the same list as NSO. Yes, that they are killing journalism. Well, yes, that's the issue. You could say that Google is killing journalism. Well, it's changing. Yeah, that's right. Certainly the old-fashioned journalism is going away. Newspapers and cable TV news and all those things are dying industries. And so there's a big pharmacy outage. Some Black Cat ransomware has hit this company called United Health, which apparently provides billing for a whole lot of pharmacies, and this attack has been going on for about a week, and people are having trouble getting their prescriptions. Now, I just filled a prescription today at Kaiser, and I had no problem, but I think Kaiser handles billing internally, and they don't need to use a third-party service for it. So anyway, it's a thing to be aware of, and it shows a single point of failure for a certain amount of medical operations in America. Anyway, I'm going to stop the news.